async mediation. Okay, let's go. Another one. It is root component. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like your if else conditions. So if this is true, then it will get executed. If this is true, then it will get executed.
Okay.
Okay. So, but only one will be executed whenever we have um, ML strategies like this. This is
So
ML's.
what is ML?
Yeah, actually there are multiple strategies available for root. Root is one of the component which where we can execute the conditional statements. We can see this here as well. Implementing routing strategies and subroutes to the direct the flow of message through the assembly. So based on certain conditions, you will just decide the flow. Okay. So you can see this root by default it will look like this, but here you can add your conditions. So for example, so if you click on this ML strategy, then if you again click on this ML strategy, then you can add your conditions. So in one condition this subroute will be executed, in another conditions too, then alternate will be executed. Suppose you want to process employee and contingent worker separately. Okay,
Okay.
so like suppose you have worker type as one of the property which already contains the value of that employee, sorry, worker type. So if it is employee, then it will go to this subroute, and the otherwise if it will go to alternate route. So then async mediation. Okay, one second. Using the swim lane, we can control the visibility. Okay, so you can see okay. So if first one is true, then it will go to this async mediation. If second one is true, then it will go to this async mediation 0.
Okay.
Okay, this is like AMP, and this is for contingent workers. So like this, the integration will flow. Similarly, we have other strategies as well. Another strategy is like all strategy. In this case, what it does not matter what condition is true, it will always execute all of the subroutes. So suppose after this we have one async mediation, this, so it will execute both.
Okay.
Same way in all strategies.
So in
There is
root
one
we
more.
have different type of strategies, right?
Yes, there is one more very important strategy, that is docket rater. So docket rater
What is it?
does not have
Docket
any
tracker.
docket rater. It does not have anything to do with the integration flow, but it is for retrieving the document. So suppose your integration has um, retrieval service.
Okay.
Suppose your integration is this. Like you have delivery service. Similarly, you can have a retrieval
Yeah.
services, right? Where we are co You are connecting to SFTP environment and retrieving a file from there. And suppose there are multiple files. So what doc iterator will do, if even if there is one file, it will behave the same. So it will read the file using that doc iterator, and then it will pass on to subsequent subassembly. So whatever file it contains, it will store in a variable which is called wd retrieve variable. Okay, so after um, reading that file from SFTP, it will store in this variable, and from that variable we can store in our message, and then we can process it as per our uses.
Okay.
Okay, this is another important use of root component. Let me check if there is some more. These we don't use,
Okay.
but you can check if you need custom and all. Round robin also. Round robin, I think we can see in this in this assembly itself. One of the example we can see. Failover also we don't use. Yeah. Okay, rest all are not needed for now. Okay, let's come back to this. So you can see that in this write message, we have another option of creating a message. In this write means it will override the current message content. So you can see they are using a um, static file which contains output of a report, report data, report entry, which contains three fields: information reference ID, name, worker count, right? These are the details. So here, what they are doing, they are checking the condition, so which is based on the launch parameter of this starting. We have output type, okay, as the launch parameter, and the default value is HTML. So it is checking lp dot launch, lp means launch parameter, get simple data output type, if it is HTML only, or if they change it to CSV, then in case of HTML it will execute this one, if in case of CSV it will execute this one.
Okay. Okay.
It's like it will transform based on this XSLT and then generate the file accordingly. And in this store component means whenever you want to store the file in your integration event,
Okay.
you use this store.
Okay.
Yep. So store component means it will store the file in the integration event, and the file name will be whatever is mentioned in the title. It will have the same file name transformed output, and then you will, so whatever type is there, so it will print that. There is a dot also here, which will print the extension HTML or CSV. Okay. Here we are mentioning the expiration, which will always be in this form, like P3D means it will be expiring in 3 days. Similarly, if I write 180, it will expiring in 180 days. If you write like 1M, it will expire in 1 month. So you can do that. Now another component, very important component is there, that is eval component. Yep, this is the one. Eval means you can, it's not like a evaluate expression in the calculator field. It's like you can initialize some of the properties variables as per your need during the assembly. So for example, you can see here we had a launch parameter, the condition, which is of type boolean. Okay, so in this eval we can write like this props and the control space, if you enter, then it will give the suggestion space equal to, and then suppose if I write 1, so it will initialize 1 into this. Okay, whatever value I'm assigning, based on that it will uh, this type will be decided. So I'm assigning a numeric value, so it will be of numeric type by default. Similarly, if I write like this, so this description as a text value will be stored in this, and it will be of type string.
Okay.
Okay, here they for here they are assigning this as a boolean. It will not matter whether you use this or not, but just for safe side they are using it. Otherwise it will assign boolean only. So here whatever user is selecting is boolean, true or false, the same value will be initialized in this, in the condition. Now this the condition, this eval we are going to use in the subsequent assemblies.
Okay.
So you can see here in this particular component how suppose you want to execute it based on certain condition and do not want to execute it always, so you can use this in under this common section, execute step when. So whenever this condition is true, whatever you set up here, based on that it will execute, otherwise it will not.
Okay.
Okay, since it is of type boolean, you are not giving the condition like this, but otherwise you always need to give some expression which will return true or false. Okay, so if someone asks you how you can skip a condition, skip a particular execution of some sync mediation or any other component, you can just mention that you go to properties, execute step one, and then you mention the condition which is true. So suppose I'm writing 1 equal to 2, which is always false, it will not execute. Or if I write something which will evaluate to false, it will not execute, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So
this is,
um,
yeah, yeah, tell me.
in interview, um, how can we answer like what is eval means? What difference between eval ML means? How can we explain that? What can we say?
If they ask you that if you want to execute particular section, then you can just mention in the execute step when.
Okay.
So
No, I'm
they
just asking like what is the definition for eval? We
eval
can say
eval is
yeah.
for initializing the properties and variables, manipulating the data. So so based on that, you can write all those types. Props means for storing the small variable, um,
Yeah.
like small data. I mean to say,
Yes. Okay.
okay, and prop variable are for the large amount of data. So every time you will not write the whole expression, whole XPath, right? So suppose there is a custom report output and you want to process the rows. So you will not write the full XPath of the custom report everywhere. You will just initialize into some proper into this some props, and then you are going to use that. Correct?
Yeah.
For example, parts 0, control space enter dot XPath, and then you can write like your custom report output wd report underscore data slash wd colon report underscore entry slash wd colon employee underscore name. So this from report, suppose before this a report is being called and that output you want to process it. So obviously you will not write XPath like this. You will just refer to this props
Yes. Yeah.
later. Okay. I'm just checking if something is important remaining. Yeah, one more is there. Actually, two, three more. So, okay, let me explain you this one. Suppose whatever message you have in input, you want to split it and process individual records. So that you can just split using splitter. So what it will do, it will process one by one. Okay. So someone asks you how would you process an input file. Okay. So that you can split using a splitter, apply your workday logic, and then you can aggregate all those records. Aggregate will actually group all those records, merge all those, and then you using store component you can store it. So in
Okay.
interview you can be asked a question like, can you explain the flow of an inbound student integration? So
Yeah.
so there you can, so there you will be receiving one input file.
Okay.
Suppose it is of type text. Anyways, they are not going to give in the same format like workday will accept. Okay. If it is a text, CSV, pipe delimited, fixed line, does not matter.
Yeah.
So point is it is text. So now, in this- so for retrieving that, obviously you need in a workday in component, you need a
Retrieval service.
perfect. Other than that, after a workday in component, you need a async mediation for initializing certain parameters using eval parameters or props for integration, which you will be using in subsequent assembly. So next is in the async mediation itself, you'll use a CSV to XML component
Okay.
or text schema component.
So what is text schema?
Yeah, to yeah, tell you to
Yeah.
convert
CS. Text.
text. It can be like CSV or any pipe delimited file to XML. So text schema is also used for that only.
Okay.
CSV to XML, it will just convert whatever input file you have. It will convert immediately to XML.
Okay.
But in text schema we use whenever we have different type of rows like different header, different trailer is there. Structure is different. I mean to say
Okay.
there are different detail record. So then we use that, which I can explain later.
Okay.
So the point is, so using this CSV to XML, we are converting to XML. So now our message is XML, right?
Yeah.
Then you use a splitter.
Okay. To split the XML into individual records, right?
Yes,
Okay.
and process individual rows.
Yeah.
After that, you use XSLT or write component. to apply workday logic. What does it mean? I mean to say, suppose you need to convert into mm, workday web service. Okay.
Okay, so
It,
yeah,
it is also
good.
inside
So web service in which
another
component we call web services? In right component we call?
write component and accessibility both will manipulate the data, which you can see as I told you initially
Yeah.
that this write message will change the message content. This will again change the output of it, right?
No, no.
So
So in which component we are calling the web service? So
no,
if
no.
if
Here
you
we are
will
just preparing
get
the web
the
service. Suppose you
okay,
the requirement is to process the input file and load in Workday.
okay. So process input file and load into Workday. So
Inbound Workday into it.
so for this, uh, if we want to compare the data with the data in existing tenant, how will you do that? Like suppose you're loading,
Comparison.
yeah, comparison.
Comparison. We need two things. So suppose you want to first process, first check whether what kind of data is there. So for that you need to call like get request of that particular object. It can be like get workers or get company, get organization. So
Okay,
you need to call get and then initialize those parameters. You in async mediation, you need to prepare a get request. You need to after that you need worked out soap component to execute it. Correct. Then initialize those values in props and store it in hash map. I'll tell you what is hash map later. And then we compare current file data with hash map using certain key. So actually this
certain
hash
key in
map
the
will
sense
keep
SSN or
two
something
things.
like that. Key in
Sorry,
the certain
it will have
key in the sense is like, it's like in it SSN or Aadhaar card,
yes.
something like that.
Yeah, it
No?
depends what kind of data you have. Suppose it is
Okay.
about workers, so you'll compare with employee IDs. Suppose
Okay.
it is organization, so then you will compare with organization ID.
Okay.
Okay. So in hashmap, it's a combination. It's like array system. So where you have one key and one non-key field, and which you are storing in temporarily into memory.
Okay.
Okay. Then you are so if you want to compare before load, then you need all these things. Get request in general, I'm telling. Okay. And in async edition, you'll prepare the get request and then worked out some component. You will call those that web service which was prepared, and then after that again we'll have a sync mediation
The thick
and
person
then we'll initialize
what
that.
soap count.
Okay, then we will prepare we'll compare that. So let's come back on the loading part.
Yeah.
So when our integration, so we'll apply in async mediation, we'll apply accessibility. Okay,